The last 4 generations have grown up with Pac-Man. He's all ingrained into our childhood some way or another. He's got somewhere around 50 games, 2 shows, and, well, that's actually about it. Which era did you grow up with? Was it the original arcade game, the Hanna-Barbera show, the 3D World Trilogy, the Pizza Parlor Simulator, Smash Bros. Or another fighting game, or most recently, the Ghostly Adventures? This yellow, almost circle guy is still going. With 4 decades of material, there's a lot of story to cover. From prehistoric times to 500 years into the future. From eating little dots to copious amounts of time travel to a mass genocide of the Pac people kind. Pac-Man is from a place called Pac-Land, on a planet called Pac-World. One of the inhabitants of Pac-Land is the Pac people, a species of oftentimes yellow spherical guys and gals. Pac-Man is one of the many members of this kind. Another location of Pac-World is Ghostland, home to the ghosts, like the ones you've probably heard of, Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde. Pac-Land is also home to many other lands, like the Fairyland, home to the fairies. The original arcade game with the maze takes place in 1980, but starting there would be doing Pac-Man's ancestors a disservice. Beginning all the way in the caveman days, or cave Pac-Man days, caveman days, during this period, not much existed. Pacosauruses, Neander Pac-Men, and prehistoric ghosts. Neander Pac lived a peaceful cave life, usually unbothered by the ghosts. Unky, Punky, Blunky, Claude, and Sue decide one day to just be enemies with Neander Pac. They actually defeat him, and his beaten body happens to lie underneath a power pellet tree. The tree produces power pellets, the orbs that make ghosts edible. This is when Neander Pac first discovered their existence and the power within them. Neander Pac defeated them, and everything went back to normal. Until one day, Pac-Man appeared. The modern-day Pac-Man time-traveled to this point. He was in search of a fragment of the artifact. The artifact is a magical power pellet that protects Pac-World. I mean, it doesn't yet in this time frame, but it will. This awesome, cool, evil guy named Mollusk got his really long talon fingers on the artifact and smashed it into 4 chunks, scattering them across time. The same prehistoric ghost gang would attack modern Pac-Man. Pac-Man gets the piece of the artifact and skedaddles out of there. Now, moving into the next time period. What the? It's me, from the future, and I have a little more to add. So this isn't the end of caveman days. A Pac-Man, not the Pac-Man, but Paxter, the Pac-Man that is 500 years in the future from the 1980s Pac-Man, time travels here too, in search of a repository that the president and a guy named Sir Cum threw into the past. The repository was a thing that stripped a Pac person of his body after this massive war. It's a huge thing that doesn't happen for thousands of years. Paxter gets it, even though it's a decoy, and returns home. Wait, I have a little bit more to add for future Paxter. Him and his friends find a frozen cave Pac-Man called Cave Kid, and they thaw him in their timeline. They go on a whole adventure to return him to his proper timeline, and it probably creates some continuity issues. It can't be any worse than what both of you are doing. That's true, yep. Alright, the next period in time is the ancient Egyptian times. Modern Pac-Man does the same thing, makes enemies and leaves with the artifact piece. In a separate instance, Pac-Man and his nephew PJ take a page from the Rabbids book and time travel via washing machine. They end up in Egypt and meet a Pac pharaoh. Pac-Man is mistaken as Tutankhamun Pac-Man. When they go inside the pyramid, on the walls are Pac hieroglyphs. This might mean something, but before he is buried alive, they time travel forward. Separate to that time traveling, in modern day, they uncover Pac mummies, both male and female, and the villain Mesmeron tries to take control of them. I'm throwing a lot of names out there. It will make sense. Did anyone else just see that? In the medieval times, there was a guy named the Great Wizard Pac, and he created a potion that turned the fruit of Pac-Land to golden fruit. Said fruit was given to the brave warrior Sir Pac-a-Lot. Unfortunately for him, the ghosts have hereditary hatred against his kind. He was forced to fight the monstrous ghost Spooky, winning, and then locked him away underneath a tree bearing the golden fruit. I didn't know ghosts could be locked away, being non-corporeal and all, but just go with it. Modern Pac-Man travels to this period for another artifact piece. He does his thing and leaves. Then the modern day ghosts are teleported back in time by Mesmeron, completely irrelevant of modern Pac. There they run into Sir Chomp-a-Lot, not the same dude as Pac-a-Lot. They promise to help him defeat a Pac dragon, whose design is hilarious. They are just a circle with a snout and wings protruding. Blinky also eats himself. It's very brutal to watch these ghosts get scarfed down after a power pellet is eaten by the Pacs. I mean, it was a lot nicer in the arcade game. The ghosts were sent back to get power pellets, but they fail. Hey, what era are we talking about? Just got done with medieval time. Well, I don't know where this goes, but there are these ancient... No. Stop. Get out of here. I've already seen you. You have? Hey, this is Mung after the video is uploaded. Go back to your timeline. Viewer retention is dropping. It appears future me has gotten fed up with all the time travel and is just time traveling now. Next is 1620. The Pacs are traveling on the Pac Flower to the New World. Miles Pac-Man is giddy they are leaving the oppressive golf monsters behind. I don't know who those are, but I think this confirms there is no Pac Christianity. If there was a Pac Jesus, when they put him on the Pac cross, would he have just dissolved like he does in the game? Probably not important. When they arrive, Miles Pac-Man names the new colony Pac Land. In the winter, Pac Baby catches one of those deadly fevers, so Miles Pac-Man must go looking for food. It may not be so cold in the cabin if he would just shut the door when he leaves. Just an idea. When he is journeying in the cold, he finds the Indian ghosts. The ghosts initiate a fight and attack the Pacs, but then they eat some power pellets and then the ghosts didn't exist anymore. Pac-Man travels to the final of 4 places, the Wild West, once again facing time-appropriate ghosts, this time cowboys, and he gathers that last piece. Finally, a timeline we don't spend a ton of time in. Continuing the washing machine story, they travel to pirate times, whenever that is. And then they escape there, traveling to 1903, and meet Wilbur and Orville Pac. In this Pac history, they were trying to invent the lawnmower, but because of modern Pac's influence, it became an airplane. Would you like to know why modern Pac was time traveling in the first place? Because Pac-Man's human-like Pac feet needed clean boots. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really need to see Pac-Man's feet. Jumping way ahead to 1975. Pac-Man's age is a little up in the air. Based on his age in Pac-Man World, he should have been born in 1979, but in the game Pac in Time, he's a child in 1975, so who really cares? It's irrelevant. So let's just say he was a kid in 75. The adult Pac-Man is thrusted backwards in time. Completely separate of the artifact, this is a brand new time travel story. He is regressed to a child, and his balls undrop, but with the mind of his adult self. I do think that means there are 2 Pac-Mans in 1975. The Ghost Witch was the one that time traveled him. She's got sort of a vengeance thing going on since he already beat her once, so now he's in a time where he hasn't beaten her, but mentally he has. He traverses through various places, fights a gum monster, and goes back to 1995, like nothing happened. The year is sometime slightly before 1980. Pac-Man is not a Pac warrior capable of eating ghosts. He is in the midst of training with Pac Master, who is currently the hero of Pac-Land. There can only be one. Mrs. Pac Master is his wife, and the couple have 2 children together, Miss Pac-Man and Pac Baby. Spoilers for ahead, Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man eventually have a child named Pac Baby. Pac Master's child named Pac Baby is obviously not the same character. It's Miss Pac-Man's much younger sister. Whoever named it that clearly didn't do any research, or they're a menace, intentionally making things more confusing than they have to be. And then the final member of the family is a puppy version of Chomp Chomp, Pac-Man's future dog. The Ghost Gang, made of Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde, decide one day, you know what? Let's summon a banished ghost, because quite frankly, we're bored. This guy they are summoning was exiled long ago by the ghosts, his own kind, because he was apparently too powerful. But someone effed up the game of telephone because really he was just too stupid. Dumb or not, Golvis and his sentient guitar, Jack, are now in modern day. Pac-Master eats a power pellet, and it turns the Ghost Gang edible, but not Golvis, because he is overpowered for no reason. He disables the Pacs, ripping their arms and legs from their body, and sucks Pac-Master and his family away, only leaving Pac-Man, but in his ball form. Pac-Man is accompanied by Crystal, a fairy from the fairyland. She has some past with Golvis, but it's left up to our imagination. My guess is it's a reincarnation situation. Golvis and Crystal used to be frogs or something stupid, and they know each other from past lives. Pac-Man and Crystal defeat Golvis and cause his UFO to crash. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention, when Golvis was banned, he was made to sit and suffer in a UFO, endlessly traversing the vast nothingness of space. Poor dude, all because he was dumb. He was forced to be existentially depressed. He already can't die, why make it worse on him? Pac-Man frees Pac-Master's family, and then Pac-Master passes down the mantle unto Pac-Man, becoming the hero of Pac-Land. With his newfound title, he can effectively eat as many ghosts as he wants to, and also do anything. Which leads us to the Maze game, the original arcade game that started it all. The Ghost gang is there to attack Pac-Man. I think that's what they're there to do. They aren't entirely explicit with it. Inside the maze are pellets, the little things resembling quinoa. They are made and manufactured by the fairies of Fairyland. The power pellets are also made by the fairies, but they also grow in the power pellet forest. That will be important shortly. So as you would imagine, not much story comes from the original. However, in the cutscenes that are 45 years old, it's revealed Blinky is some weird fleshy slug in a costume. I don't know if this is unique to him or if this was Claude before he showed up in Rise of Skywalker, but this is never touched on again. So I'm gonna leave it that way. They do show in the show that once the ghosts are turned to eyes, they head to Mesmeron's closet where there are more ghost uniforms. But is this for a gag or canon? The next game was Miss Pac-Man, where Clyde was booted and the new ghost Sue was welcomed to the Ghost Gang. In this game, Miss Pac-Man meets Pac-Man, according to the title of the cutscenes at least, but that does get retconned. They meet up and smooch and bam, there's a stork dropping off Junior Pac-Man, which that's not how junior titling works, but sure. Next was Super Pac-Man, introducing Super Pac-Dots, turning Pac-Man massive like he is in the Adam Sandler movie Pixels. But what if I told you Super Pac-Man was an entirely different character than Pac-Man? Well, that would be wrong, but it would be right. In this situation, I believe I'm wrong, but I will also be right eventually. You'll see what I mean. Then they had another kid, Baby Pac, a mix of arcade and pinball. She's a little cutie patootie, ain't she? No, she's not. She looks like every other Pac. She's just wearing a bonnet thingy. Now, Miss Pac-Man should be worried because Pac-Man befriends a female ghost named Miru. This whole section has been where I introduced the family. Well, this is Pac-Man's side piece, his Guma. For some reason, she's an outlier and doesn't hurt anyone. She assisted Pac-Man in the game Pac-and-Pow. Next was Arcade Trivia. This is where you would find me in the arcade because my coordination is as good as this punchline. Professor Pac-Man is a trivia game, starring Professor Pac-Man. His bones are turning to dust, but he's super smart and will become one of Pac-Man's greatest allies. In his first rendition, he doesn't have a mustache, but in later ones, he does. Why do I mention this yellow ball's lip hair? Well, getting really niche with this lore, according to a Japanese website for Pac-and-Roll, the game with Golvis and Pac-Master, it's alluded to that Pac-Master would eventually become Professor Pac-Man, as he nears the oldest death ages. Not confirmed, but heavily implied, which then makes Professor Pac-Man Miss Pac-Man's father and Pac's father-in-law. And speaking of that, Pac-Man is about to become one. His son Junior has found himself a girlfriend. Blinky had himself a kid. Again, very curious how that works. If ghosts are incorporeal, how did the baby stay in the mother's stomach? And how to get there in the first place? If, no contact is possible. Ghosts are also dead people, so I don't think you can exactly die before living. You know what, I don't think the creators thought there'd be some guy 45 years later asking about phantom copulation. Let's go with a stork. A stork dropped the baby ghost off. Somehow it stayed in the towel thing. Okay, I'm done. His kid is Yum Yum. I think they should have ended it with the inky suffix. Junior and Yum Yum have a Romeo and Juliet relationship. Both sets of parents forbid it, but they end up together anyway. Something happened though, because Yum Yum has never been seen or mentioned again. Not pointing fingers, but Pac-Man was perhaps just a little overprotective and ate his son's girlfriend. Someone please write that down on the list of the weirdest stuff I've said on this channel. Replacing Clyde in this game, there's Tim the Ghost. That's it. You'd think there'd be more, but there's not. Finally, out of the arcade and maze games, on to the next game. Psych, Hanna-Barbera show. So I had no clue this existed. Hanna-Barbera, those guys responsible for every old iconic cartoon character ever, had a Pac-Man show. Who would have thunk? And it has 2 seasons. The show has Pac's entire family, now wearing hats and have limbs again. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, who goes by Pepper, makes sense. Wait, no it doesn't. Junior Pac-Man is not here, but PJ is, short for Pac Jr. That's his nephew, which implies Miss Pac-Man's baby sister Baby Pac grew up and had kids, or Pac has a sibling. And finally, Baby Pac, who is male in this show. No professor, but we get Chomp Chomp, later known as Pac Dog, and Sourpuss, Pac's other side piece. Wait a minute, that's the wrong thing. The Pac family's cat. Blinky, Inky, Pinky, who in the show is also a male, Clyde, and Sue return, also wearing hats. There's another ghost, Dinky, the nephew of the Ghost Gang, which makes the Ghost Gang's siblings. Who's the parent of Dinky? Is it you, Tim? He's also friends with Baby Pac. Surprisingly, the Ghost Gang aren't the big bads. It's Mesmeron, basically the only human in this entire franchise. He has an electronic mouth covering like Darth Malgus or Bane. Like all villains in this franchise, he wants to take over Pac-Land by grabbing up all power pellets in the power pellet forest. Here, the power pellets are more than ghost killers. They literally power all of Pac-Land. They are everyday commodities. This show was the first introduction to Pac-Land and the concept of a broader Pac species. Another main character is Super Pac. No, not the thing that donates to campaigns. This time, Super Pac is not a power-up, but a completely separate character, a Pac superhero. The show takes Earth and mythology and puts Pac somewhere in the word. President Pac, Abominable Pac-Man, Mesmeron turns a bat into Pacula, Pac monkeys, Pac organ grinders, they're not as horrific as they sound, Pac werewolves that Pac himself turns into, an entire Pac-Atlantis led by a Pac queen. You get the point. During Thanksgiving, Miss Pac-Man's parents come to visit, and I don't know, kinda looks like the professor. Back to the games, the first Pac-Man side-scroller, Pac-Land, based on the show. Pac-Man's got this little fairy dude underneath his hat, like Luma in Mario Galaxy, and he has to return him to the Mother Fairy in Fairyland. In Pac-Mania, the Ghost Gang would gain 2 members, with rather questionable names. Funky and Spunky. In Pac Attack, Pac gets all Tetrasy and the fairies come back, but there's no story, and I don't know if that's important. But in Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures, there is most definitely a story. I don't know what the first game is in reference to the 2 in the title. This is the first appearance of the Ghost Witch. She steals all of the Pac people's gum and creates a gum monster, something she does in her second appearance as well. Not sure what the fascination is with gum. After she is defeated, she comes back and turns Pac into a kid and throws him into the past, and we've already been over that. The next game, Pac-Man Arrangement, has no story significance except for a new ghost. And again, his name is Kinky, a little nerdy guy. There's other rhymes they could have used, so this has to be intentional. Look, I don't know if anyone's done it, but some sort of sentence must be made. Tim has a dinky. He was feeling funky and then got kinky, which led to spunky. Yum yum. Into my opinion, the best era of Pac-Man, the revival era. With the release of Pac-Man World, Pac looks quite a bit different. He's 3D for the first time. It's his 20th birthday, and everyone is coming to celebrate. Chomp Chomp, Baby Pac, riding atop a puka, the villains from Dig Dug, so just a casual universe crossover. Professor Pac, Junior Pac, and Miss Pac-Man are ready for the party, but yeah, how about not happening? Pac-Man gets home to an empty house, finding out everyone has been kidnapped. Pac-Man finds a flyer for a party on Ghost Island, where you get to meet the Pac-Man. A surprisingly large amount of ghosts show up, but does anyone else see the problem here? If they're that dumb, they deserve to die. The Ghost Gang captured the entire Pac family, leaving Pac-Man behind, which was not intentional. Under a lie, the ghosts get to meet the Pac-Man, but it's a larger robot mech called Talkman, who they think is Pac-Man. Talkman is a creation by the brand new ghost, Orson, and for some reason when you look him up, Google asks you if you want safe search on or not, so that's slightly concerning. Pac-Man rescues the whole family, and Puka, and then fights Talkman and devours Orson. Orson was just a Pac fanboy. He's a fool. Don't you know never to meet your heroes? Pac-Man devours every last little crumb of Orson, and then the game's over. There are some bloopers for the cutscenes, like at the end of Toy Story, which then makes it so Pac-Man is just a production, but let's ignore that because that makes things really complicated, and Inception and stuff like that. Not everything can be taken literally, even though I'm the one that usually takes everything literally. Miss Pac-Man then gets to have her own adventure. Professor finds out a spooky dark force is after the gems of virtue, 4 jewels that keep the 4 wonders of Pac-Land afloat. Now you might be asking yourself, Mung didn't mention those 4 wonders or the gems. Yeah, it's because they're one of those stupid revisionist history things. Oh, surprise, they just exist now. Should I have mentioned them when I was talking about Pac-Land? I don't really care. They are very unimportant. The 4 wonders are Cleopatra, not a person, Crystal Caves, Pac-Ping Harbor, and Haunted Halloween. Those are their wonders. Professor created a Pactrometer so she can travel in between the places. The villain is Mesmerelda. Unfortunately, no relation to Mesmeron. That was a very big missed opportunity. Disgusting, horrifying, grotesque, revolting, nauseating, stomach churning are all the words I call your mom. who is just a little uglier than this specimen. She possesses the Princess of Pac-Land, because apparently there's royalty now. Thanks for establishing that before. Pac-Land is basically America with the whole Thanksgiving stuff, and there's never been royalty in America, so just explain this as a dream, or one of those kinds of cop-outs, because I don't want this game in the continuity. And it's not because it's a female lead. Not that there's much difference between Miss Pac-Man and regular Pac-Man, but I have to clarify that. I criticized some Lala Loopsies and other girl toys in a video like a year ago, and I'm still called misogynistic. Miss Pac-Man really liked Cleopatra a lot. So after learning about a golden maze that only the best pack-venturer can pack-venture it. So she does in the sequel. After Orson's defeat, the Ghost Gang found a new boss. Maybe. There is nothing known about the next guy, but his name is Mollusk. First off, awesome name. Secondly, he looks so dark and gritty for Pac-Man, it makes him even cooler. He appears to be an evil Pac person with dinosaur hands. He resembles original Pac more than the modern one. Somehow, there was contact between Mollusk and the ghosts, and they brought him another one of those late edition things, the artifact. Apparently, it's a powerful power pellet that protects Pac-Land, so Mollusk, being a villain that we know nothing about, destroys it. Professor tells Pac about it, and using Professor's time machine, Pac goes and gets the pieces, and we've also already talked about that. Once Pac recreates the artifact, he time travels back to the present to the exact time Mollusk destroyed the artifact. The ghosts scurry away and Pac-Man smites Mollusk with a beam of light, and there goes Mollusk. Speaking of quick villains, Wandy the Wizard, a ghost that captures all of the fairies. Pac and gang go to the Ghost Realm to rescue them. The Ghost Realm is where the ghosts are from. I know I already said Ghostland was home to the ghosts, but it's really the Ghost Realm. Trust me guys, it won't change again. Promise. This takes place in the game Pac-Man All-Stars. There aren't cutscenes or anything like that, so the only story is in the game's booklet. In it, it sheds some light into Pac's thinking. Whoever rescues the fairies will go down as Pac-Land's greatest hero. He already has that title, but life's all about keeping up statuses. Pac-Man isn't the selfless hero we thought he was. He's a fame-chasing fiend. He's in it for the valor. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that per se, and he does do a great job. You know what, I switched my tone. He keeps the streets clean. If he's got a massive ego, let him keep it, I guess. Pac-Man World 2. The Ghost Gang goes to that tree, caging Spooky. They take the golden fruit and unleash Spooky into the world. What's with these dudes resurrecting banished deadly ghosts? What's even worse than that is they changed Chomp Chomp's design this time around, and oh wow, is it cursed. It's just Pac-Man with 4 long legs and floppy ears. I suppose it fits the species better, but please go back to this. Pac fights the ghosts, who now have giant mech vehicles. He runs into some other Pac people, and he meets the Golden Fruit Tree's evil brother. And then Pac defeats Spooky, restoring the golden fruit to the tree. Spooky is seemingly a big-time favorite for the Pac fans. Nah, I just don't get it. The next game, I don't even know if it's supposed to go here, but it was released after this one, and unfortunately another one with no timeline significance. Pac-Man is barely important. This Ink Master bloke gets his hand on ghost ink. Guess what he makes with that? Ink ghosts. Pac-Man is forced into a 2D hell once again, and you, the player, wielding the magic pen, the stylus, are supposed to beat the game. Like I said, no timeline significance. Pac-Man World 3, here to celebrate his 25th birthday. This goes without saying, everything between Pac-Man World 1 and Pac-Man World 3 takes place over a course of 5 years. Pac-Man begins teleporting around the yard. Turns out it's Orson, that weird dark cyan gray ghost fanboy. He plays on a Pac-Man arcade machine. The ghosts are good guys now, which means there's gotta be some really evil dude so much worse than the Ghost Gang. Irwin, an alien. If Dr. Zomboss and a toddler's astronaut Halloween costume had a kid. He's also got a little minion named Spectral Fiend. Orson teleports Pac-Man to the Spectral Realm. The Spectral Realm is the true home of the ghosts. I lied last time, this is actually the home of the ghosts. Irwin is siphoning energy from the Spectral Realm, and Pac-Man and the ghosts team up to stop him. Orson makes a new version of Talkman for them to utilize. Pac-Man destroys Irwin's machines, and Big Head over here gets sucked into a siphon and the thing explodes. So he's probably dead. Pac-Man teleports back home, and when he lands, it kinda looks like he kills Junior. The ghosts also teleport back, and they continue their usual cat and mouse. Quick little interjection. Pac-Man, only being 25, is crazy. He was married and had a kid at like 2. They portray them like they're 50. I think aging works differently in Pac-World though. During Pac's big journey to Irwin, he goes through many locations, one of which has to do with ancient beings. The ancients built temples that are now ruins, and this little blue frog dude roams there. He's a historian, but only knows about their deaths. They say the ancients tried to siphon energy from the spectral realm, just as Irwin is doing, and I guess it killed them. Anywho, the ancients should technically be somewhere in the past section of this timeline, but I don't really know where. Where is this? I'm talking about how Paxter met his parents through time travel. I'm about to go back in time. Don't do that. One of us got angry. Oh, okay. So never mind. I just got yelled at, which I guess you've already seen. I'm just gonna leave the ancients part here because I don't know where it goes. You know what Pac-Man does next? You will not guess it. He runs a pizza parlor, partnered alongside a human named Kathy. This game has more lore than all of them combined. Kathy and her father Bob ran their pizza parlor together until one day Blinky injures Bob, getting himself a lawsuit. Bob's now in the hospital with no memory. The last bit of advice he told her was to put a coin in the Pac-Man arcade machine. Pac-Man and a fairy are summoned to the real human Earth. Pac-Man is also in his most useless form, the sphere. Turns out when Kathy was a kid, Pac-Man was the one that taught her father how to make a mean pizza pie. A pair of loan sharks appear and demand their debt. Kathy and Pac go to the amnesiac father to figure out what is going on. So Bob had a wife, Nancy. They bought a boat together. Nancy died, and he had to sell the boat, but he changed his mind and bought it back. That's what the money was for. Surprise! Kathy has a fiance. Why he couldn't have helped her run the pizza place instead of Pac is beyond me. But he pays the loan shark debt, and off on their way they went. After multiple hospital visits and emotional, sappy stories and gifts given about the dead wife, Bob is discharged and ready to go. Not before ending this food-serving game with going to Nancy's grave and crying and being happy and all those feelings and emotions humans are supposed to have. This was probably the most unexpected thing in the timeline. Jumping ahead into the future, multiple hundreds of years, Pac-Man is dead. I'm not joking, he's actually dead. Miss Pac-Man is dead. Junior Pac is dead. Baby Pac is dead. Chomp Chomp is dead. Sourpuss, dead. Professor Pac, dead. Everyone is dead. The year is around 2522. Just a teensy little bit of time has passed. Pac-Land is now gone. In its place is the futuristic city, Pacopolis. Pacopolis is led by President Spheros, a green Pac person. His brother was Commander Betrayus, who led a massive coup. Like every villain ever, he tried to take over Pac World. This fight would become known as the Ghost Wars. The Pac people came out victorious and used this thing called the Repository, sucking the ghosts from Betrayus and his soldiers and banishing them to the Netherworld. Okay, so get this. The Netherworld is the home of the ghosts. The actual home. A product of the war was the mass genocide of yellow Pac people, leaving only one. We got any takers? Raise your hand if you have an answer. Pac-Man. But the Pac-Man is long dead. Pac-Man is a title given to the greatest warrior of Pac-World, and it happens to be this guy, looking almost identical to the other guy, and sometimes he's called Paxter. In the year 2522, it's been a long time since the Pac people have seen ghosts. Pac-Man has to activate the plot and open the portal to the Netherworld. There's a tree of life that keeps Pac-World alive. I don't know if it's the golden fruit one from Pac-Man World 2, or the last tree from the Power Pellet Forest. Whatever it is, the ghosts repeatedly try to steal it, along with the repository to once again become corporeal. With Betrayus being a former Pac person, that changes how the ghosts have worked this entire franchise. The ghosts are supposed to be a species. Well, I mean, besides the whole slug thing Blinky situation, but now that Betrayus is an actual dead Pac person, I guess that means this whole time every ghost was really dead. They were supposed to come from another realm and all that, but never mind. It's kind of up to the viewer interpretation which canon you want to take. The ghost gang is still alive. Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde. They be looking a little different though. They obviously haven't died in those 500 years. But this makes me question, how many Pac-Mans have they seen? How many were there before the Pac-Man? It kind of makes me feel sad. It really makes their relationship a lot less special. Paxter has two friends, Spiral and Cylindria, and a school bully, Skibo. Oh yeah! Paxter's like a kid in high school in this reboot. Paxter's parents are missing. He believes they are dead, and so he was raised by his aunt Spheria. Paxter has his own mentor professor character, Sir Cumference. His name is a lot to type in my script though, so I'm just gonna shorten it to Sir Cum. Betrayus has his thugs, Dr. Buttocks and Butler. Why do they need to be Tookus related? This whole story I'm telling you is part of the Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures show, along with the game and the sequel. Regarding the show, there is a very loose overarching story of Paxter trying to figure out what happened to his parents. Every episode has Betrayus trying to get his non-corporeal hands on that repository. One way he tries to get it is to have Paxter betray everyone and bring it to him. A fake repository is created and thrown into the past, and Paxter has to fetch it. Hang on, I have to go add this to the caveman part of the script. Okay, I'm back. You've already seen that. And then there's also the random stuff. Paxter ate so much one day that President Spheros has to limit Paxter to 3 meals a day. Imagine you eat so much you risk causing a famine, and the president has to personally limit you. The only person ever to do that is your mother. Wow, I did 2 your mother jokes in one video. You know what else I did? Now that he's on restriction, Paxter eats the netherworld food, giving Betrayus a famine to deal with. Being that Paxter is a teen, he has a zit problem, and that's an entire episode's plot, and they seal a portal with his zits. You can pretty easily tell that this show came from the gross out 2010s. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but this show pulls from the Hanna-Barbera one for some of their plots. They continue a Pac-Lantis theme. Pacula, the Pac-Dracula, returns. And there were also Werepacks and Pacosauruses, so if nothing else, cool little references. Continuing the parents' plot, there is a species of alien called the Pointy Heads, led by Apex, and he hired Pacinator, who completely genocided the yellow Pax. Apex does reveal that Paxter's parents are alive, but that story isn't fulfilled. However, because of time travel, Paxter gets to meet his parents. He also sees the baby version of himself, and it has a little tuft of hair. And, I don't really understand how that works. I guess I should go back and put that in when I'm talking about the pre-Ghost War stuff. Where is this? I'm talking about how Paxter met his parents through time travel. I'm about to go back in time. Don't do that. One of us got angry. Oh, okay. Okay, I guess I won't time travel. Who are you now? I just came from the Grizzly and the Lemmings video. Wait, what? When does that happen? Sorry, can't talk. Okay, I'm sorry this is happening. I'm just gonna continue like normal. Where was I? Oh yeah, Paxter's parents. They aren't dead. They were taken away from Paxter, but this is never really touched on. The show ends on a cliffhanger, so there's no resolution. So just some of the random stuff that happens. There's the Overlord of the Outer Regions. Betrayus sabotages an election and installs a puppet candidate who wins, taking President Sphero's position. They find a cave Pac-Man and thaw him out, and then they return him to his home. Alright, I'll go back there, even though a past me, or future me maybe that was, told me to stop time traveling. Wait a second. This isn't the Pac-Man video. What video is this? Banned episodes of SpongeBob. Oh, that's cool. Hey, here's a tip. Do a video about larvae. Really? Yes. Personally, Trap Team is my favorite. The trapping mechanic was just fun for me as a kid. I could already collect the heroes and now the villains too. This isn't it. Oh hey, I remember this. What video am I in? The Skylanders video. Before or after I halted the release last October? After. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Where was I? Cave Kid, and then time travel, and then more time travel. They find a mummy and need to mention in Egyptian times. No, I'm not doing that. Ellie, niece to the president in the final episode, reveals to Paxter that she once saw his parents, and then the show is over. No conclusion. I just covered mostly all of the show, but there are 2 games with the same name, just one has a 2 after it, and it's just Betrayus being a bad guy, and people didn't like those games. In the sequel, they make fun of how unoriginal the story for that game is going to be, so obviously it's redundant. The game Pac-Man Party came out before all Ghostly Adventures, and that was the first to show off Paxter and the new designs, so that probably comes before the Ghostly Adventures. It's a party game with a story mode. The only thing that really comes out of it though is Patra, this salacious Anubis thing. And with that, just about sums up the main timeline. But we ain't done. There are quite a few games I have to knock out. These games have either nowhere logical to go in the franchise, or just aren't important, period. You can see some of them on screen. I'm not going to list all of them, there's quite a few. But an honorable mention is Pac-Man 256, because that game adds Glitchy the Ghost. But that's it. But then, there are a few more games that add to the multiverse timeline. I think that's what you'd call it. Our Pac-Boy is in a lot of fighting games, and it's the common consensus that games like Smash Bros. Are not canon to any of the games. I don't know how accurate that is to all crossover games, but if Pac-Man can time travel a lot, then he should be able to travel to other games' dimensions. First, he's in Smash Bros. U and Ultimate. He's in Mario Kart, Fortnite, the Street Fighter X Tekken game has him as a fighter, along with Mega Man and some others. Then he has his own crossover games, Pac-Man Fever. It's a party game which features characters from Tekken, Soul Calibur, and Ridge Racer. Pac-Man World Rally, a racing game which includes Dig Dug characters, the Prince from Katamari, Mappy from Mappy, and oddly enough, it includes Pac-Devil, a character that has never been in any other Pac-Man game besides this one. There's Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions. Besides the games, there are countless and countless and countless movies and TV show cameos, but those are definitely not canon. For example, Pixels, the Adam Sandler movie, or the Bloodhound Gang song Mope, where he's high on crack. There's also some French comic books based on the Ghostly Adventures, but I think I've just about ran out of time. Ignore that I have a time machine.